And good morning, breakfast clubbers. Today, I want to introduce our speaker who I've asked to be here today because we want to end 2020 with a person who can share with us how we can flourish in the new normal. And today, speaker is Stephen Campbell. And after working in hospital administration for 20 years, Stephen Campbell acquired his master's to pursue his greatest love, teaching. He then became a professor, author, educational dean, and professional speaking for another 30 years. Since writing his third book, which I highly recommend, Making Your Mind Magnificent, Stephen has been conducting seminars around the world to enable his audiences to absolutely thrive in these unprecedented times. He does so by teaching and demonstrating how he can replace negative messages with positive ones during these challenging times. He then shows how our brains can make these new messages a part of who we are. Steve also hosts a 2-hour weekly radio program on KOWS 92.5 FM every Wednesday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. It's a great show. I encourage you to listen in. So let me welcome our speaker today, Stephen Campbell.
Yay. Thank you so much. All in 20 minutes? Yes. So hang on to your seats because this is going to be an amazing few minutes for you. First of all, the new normal is not coming, it's here. And it's not only around the world, but is right next door. But what's so interesting is that preparing begins not with your plans, not with your programs. Everything begins with how you think. It begins with your minds. Now, let me illustrate what I mean by that. Every single time I cross the Golden Gate Bridge, and it also begins with your feelings, every single time I go to the Golden Gate Bridge, I'm amazed. And yet the Golden Gate Bridge did not begin with somebody's plans. They began with somebody's vision. They began with somebody's mind. In this case, it was James Wilkins, who was a reporter for the San Francisco Gazette. B of A provided the money and the rest is history. But everything begins with how you think. So what we're going to do today is look at 3 very, very simple, easy to understand and remember principles that's going to really help you not only face 2021, but flourish in it. Okay? Now, before we start, people begin taking notes and they say they want to get everything down. I'm going to save you the problem with this. I've already written down every word I'm going to say. And I put it on a PDF so that the slides are on the right, the words are on the left. So if you want a copy of this, simply put in your name and your email into chat, and I'll send it to you right after, or actually this afternoon when I'm done here. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to this. While I'm talking to you, you're talking to yourself hundreds of times faster. And your brain's believing everything you tell it. Ew. That's scary, but that's wonderful. The scary part is when you say, I just cannot do this, the brain says, absolutely. The wonderful part is when you say, I can do this, the brain says, absolutely, just as quickly. Now, why do I have a picture of my wife? To illustrate that every single time I think of Mary, I don't think of her with words. I think of her with how I feel about her and how pretty she's become to me in the 50 years we've been married. So you're talking to yourself far faster than I'm talking to you right now. But here's the important point, and I'll say this really slowly. While you're talking to yourself and your brain believes everything you tell it, the brain doesn't care whether what you're saying is true or not. So the brain believes it. Is it true? Brain doesn't even care. Let me illustrate. I think one of the best books that talk about this is Dr. V.S. Ramachandran's Phantoms in the Brain. Phantoms refer to phantom limbs that have been amputated. The patient will go into a doctor's office, he'll say, you got to help me, I can't do a thing with my arm. The doctor may say, well, that could be because I cut off that arm 6 months ago. And the patient says, you didn't tell my brain that. My brain still thinks it's there. So the brain doesn't care whether what you're saying is true or not. Well, let me share with you a story that I shared with you last time, but it really illustrates everything that I've said and that I'm going to be saying. I ended up teaching math at the University of San Francisco. And one of my students came to me after the first day of class, sat down, very shy. She said, Mr. Campbell, I am really glad you're my professor because I am a C student in math. I said, how do you know this, Sue? Because I have never gotten above a C in a math test. I'm a C student. And I said, well, let me work with you. And I did. She got an A in the first midterm. And I gave her the test, and she looked at it and absolutely freaked out. She said, oh. And then she said, oh, Mr. Campbell, this is a mistake. What do you mean? I have never gotten above a C in a math test. You must have made a mistake. And I said, I didn't, Sue. This is a genuine A. So then she looked at it longer. I'll never forget this. She looked at it longer, and her face just suddenly lit up. Her eyes got really bright. And she said, do you know what this means? And of course, now I'm getting really excited. So I sat down next to her. I said, of course I do, Sue, but I want you to tell me, what does this mean? This means that when I flunk the next test, I can still maintain my C. I said, Sue, just get an A in every test. She said, oh, I can't. Why? What was her answer? I'm a C student. And that's exactly what happened. She flunked the next test. She got a C in the course. So I sat down with her. I said, Sue, answer me this. What would have happened if you had flunked this first test? Do you know what she said? Without a moment's hesitation. She says, easy, I would have said like crazy, get an A in the next test. I said, Sue, just get an A in every test. She said, oh, I can't. Why? I'm a C student. I've always been this way. This is the way I was raised. This is how I feel about myself. This is what I think. This is where I get stuck. This is what I do. Or, do you know when your old life ended? 1 second ago. So when did your new life begin? 1 second ago. Now do the math. 60 seconds per minute, 60 minutes per hour, 24 hours per day, in one 24-hour period. You have 86,400 new opportunities for a new life every single day. All you have to do is choose to take them. And when you do, what will your brain say? Oh, okay. Is it true? Don't care. All I care about is what you tell me. Can you see where we're going on this? Wait till we get there. So what I want to share with you is summarized in the next 2 slides. Here we go. The primary element that holds us back from learning, growing, changing is what we say to ourselves. The primary element is not our background. It's not our mistakes. It's not our successes. It's what we say to ourselves about ourselves. Here's the exciting message today. You can choose to replace what you're saying. Notice I didn't say change. Why do I never use change? Because the brain hates change. The brain doesn't want you to change. The brain's job is to keep you safe. So I never use the word change. I always use the word replace because the brain may hate the change, but it loves to create new stuff. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a few minutes. Now, even though all this is true, your brain takes shortcuts. Do you know that? What does that say? It does not say a bird in the bush. How many does? And yet your brain said, oh, I know this. This is so easy. How could this be so easy? Absolutely, because I've seen this before. In fact, listen, your brain takes shortcuts and is wrong a lot when you talk about yourself. In fact, my dear friends, most of what we say to ourselves about ourselves is negative crap, except when you're aware of that. And I'm going to make you aware of that this morning. Here's another example. I showed this to my wife, Mary, years ago. I said, which was darker, the A or the B? She said, the A is dark, the B is light. I said, no, they're the same color. She said, you're crazy. How could they be the same color? I said, well, let's look at the bars. You can see the bars. The bars are the same color for A. The bars are the same color for B. And yet when we go back, the A is darker, the B is lighter. What does the B have the A doesn't have? Shadow. So the brain makes it lighter so you can see it. In other words, your brain has been fooling you your entire life. So don't be surprised. So principle one, your brain believes what you tell it. Principle two, and this is the most exciting one that I want to share with you this morning. Principle two, your feelings primarily come from your beliefs. Your feelings are not coming from COVID. They're not coming from the pandemic. They're not coming from being isolated. Do you know where they're coming from? They're coming from what you are saying about COVID and what you are saying about the pandemic. And you can choose to replace what you're saying. And when you do, what does your brain say? Oh, okay. Is it true? Don't care. Is it easy? Of course not. Because some of the things you've been saying to yourself, you've been saying your entire life. And this is when your feelings come in. So let's look at this specifically. This is from a book called The Guide to Rational Living, written back in 1962 by Dr. Albert Ellis and Robert Harper. It turns psychology on its ear. What they suggested, which we now know is true through decades of research all over the world, is that our feelings come from our beliefs. What does that mean? Well, let's just illustrate. Anastasia and I have been friends for years and years. In fact, I was one of her first clients. Let's imagine that I show up at Anastasia's house on a Saturday morning with a shovel. I say, Anna, hi, Anastasia, how are you? Good to see you. I'm going to dig a hole in your backyard. And Anastasia says, oh, okay, well, all right. So I go to her backyard, I start digging the hole. And she watches me dig the hole. And as she watches, she begins developing some beliefs. Let's see, we've been friends for years. He knows it's my birthday today. Steve knows I love rose bushes. Oh, that's what he's doing. He's digging a hole in my backyard to plant a rose bush for my birthday. Oh, Steve, I love you. You're so sweet. Get Mary over here. We'll come over and have a birthday party. Okay? That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is that we absolutely hate each other. Hate each other. Have for years. And finally, I show up at her house with a shovel. I say, hi, Anastasia. How are you? Good to see you. I'm going to dig a hole in your backyard. And without asking her, I go to her backyard, I start digging the hole. This time, her beliefs are completely different. This time, her beliefs that I'm digging the hole to bury her in it. Now watch this. Same Anastasia, same Steve, same Saturday morning, same shovel, same backyard, same hole, completely different feelings, completely different beliefs. Why? Because your feelings are coming from what you are saying to yourself about yourself. People say, Steve, I'm not really sure what I believe. There's a wonderful handle. And the handle is, look at yourself talk. If you want to know what you're believing, listen to what you're saying to yourself about yourself. And this is where you get stuck. But there's also where you can get unstuck. by simply being aware of what you're saying to yourself about yourself and saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to say that anymore. And what will your brain say? Oh, okay, true, don't care. All I care about is what you tell me. So let's illustrate. Here's a couple of beliefs that I hear a lot, okay? I use this because I'm out of work, or I feel stranded in the pandemic. Well, listen, we think that events such as being out of work and being the pandemic explain how we feel. Rather, don't miss this, I'll say it really slowly. It's your belief about being unemployed. It's your belief about being in the pandemic that explain how you feel. Now, you can replace those beliefs. That's exciting. And when you do, what does your brain say? Okay, is it easy? Of course not. Because some of the beliefs you've been having your entire life, but you can start to, and your brain says, okay. So here's what we see. I feel useless because I'm unemployed. Here's some other things to look at. You know what? There's no more commutes. I like this because I'm right in my bedroom next door, rather than spending 2 hours to get to San Francisco and back, okay? I have time to connect with my family. I can travel, I can fine tune my skills, I can register for classes, I can get back in shape, okay? I can start your own business, all these wonderful things. Or I feel stranded in the pandemic. Well, there's some options here. There's some other ways to think. The countries are actually helping each other deal with this. Companies that have never even talked to each other are now beginning to work together, okay? Carbon emissions are plunging. We have clearer waterways. There's a focus on essential workers. Traveling is minimal. People are sleeping better. People are in touch with their families, and there's a break in our routine. Things are different. And you know what? We're getting used to it. And we're surviving. And we're also learning to what? How to flourish. I think one of the most amazing men who ever lived was Dr. Viktor Frankl. And as you probably know his history, he's the author of 39 books. He has, I think, 29 honorary degrees. He was also at Auschwitz for 3 years as an inmate. He lost his mother, his father, and his wife. And yet here's what he said. First of all, he said, everything can be taken from a human being but one thing. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. In other words, what he described and he discovered in the middle of situations that were horrendous is that we can choose our own way. And when we decide to do that, our brain says, okay, is it true? Don't care. So let me give you a couple of examples and then we'll begin to close. 2018 was an amazing year for me. At the beginning of the year, I discovered I had cancer, cataracts, and diabetes. And then at the end of the year, I discovered I had advanced heart disease. Well, for the cancer, they took a little spot off my head and I'm cancer-free. The diabetes, I've had to completely switch my lifestyle and I've lost 30 pounds. For the, what's the third one? For cataracts, they replaced my lenses, and notice that my glasses are here. I'm not wearing them because I don't really need them. And for the heart, I had open heart surgery last year and my heart is as healthy as ever. But the point I want to make is this. My feelings did not come from the cancer or the cataracts. They came from what I was saying about the cancer and the cataracts. In other words, listen to what you are saying about the pandemic and about COVID. But more than anything else, my dear friends, listen to what you are saying about yourself. Wow. 3 principles. Here's the third. Our brain is continually rewiring itself. It's doing that right now. In other words, you're only stuck when you say you are. And you get unstuck when you say you can be. Let me illustrate. I was working where I was teaching, and Mary called me on the phone, and you get Mary near a phone and she talks. And this time she wasn't talking. And finally I had to say, hi, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she said, I have cancer. She could hardly say it. And we went through all the cancer stuff, the mastectomy and the whole thing. And a year later, she was cancer-free. The year after that, the year after that, the year after that. And then she called me the same way, but this time it was different. This time she simply said, hi. Hi. What are you calling me for? They found something. How are you doing? You know what, Steve? I'm doing all right. How? Because I made it through last time, I can make it through this time. What changed? Not the cancer. It's what Mary said about the cancer. She replaced it, and her brain said, okay. Now, let's close this by making it mine. Right now, all this information is on the left side of your brain. It's information. It's not applicable. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So what I want to do for the last couple minutes is to make this and put it over on the right side, where your feelings are, where your intuition is, where all the stuff is that you get, that you use to be creative, okay? And I'm going to give you just 2 new ways of thinking. 3 are too many to remember, okay? So 1 is applied, and I always give this at the end of every presentation because you need to hear this over and over and over. 1 applies when you do something really, really, really well, and the other applies when you do something really, 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 really poorly. That pretty much covers everything. So let's do the first one first. When you do something really, really, really well, according to our study at Stanford University back in 1975, when we do something really well, it turns out that we pass over our successes too quickly, too lightly for them to ever become a part of who we are. So when someone says, good job, we often say, oh, not really. That's really embarrassing. That's egotistical. Thank you very much. But no, no, no. Okay, what have we learned together? When you say no, 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 what is your brain going to say? Oh, okay. And those compliments fall to the floor, which is really sad. So here's your new way of thinking. From now on, when someone says, good job, you look at them and you smile and you say, thanks, I know. I can almost hear you laughing. But what the wonderful thing about the brain is when you say that, your brain not only agrees, it also says, and you could even be better. And when I say that to myself, I say, you know what, I can say this, do it this way and that way, this way. And the brain said, let's do it. Let's grow. Let's change together. Wow. So when you do something really well and someone compliments us, you simply say, you know what, that makes me feel really nice. And then when you are by yourself, you wallow in your success like a pig in slop. Wallow in it. And I have a question. Why do we have to wait for someone else to tell us how amazing we are? Say it to yourself. And what will your brain say? Oh, okay. Is it true? I don't even care. But here's what happens. When you keep saying that, your brain rewires itself so that those messages become a part of your mindset, and your mindset becomes a part of who you are. Wow. Now, hold on to your seat. Here's the last one. Throw away the list. What's the list, Steve? The list is when you make those big bonehead mistakes and you say, oh my gosh, How could I have been so stupid? And the brain immediately pops up and says, oh, I know. Remember that dumb thing we did yesterday, or that dumb thing you did a week ago, a month ago, a year ago? Remember how you're the slowest reader in the 3rd grade? And we got this list, we start going down the list of all the dumb things we've ever done. Now, this is really important to understand. I'll say this really slowly so you don't miss this. When you do that, remembering all your mistakes, your brain does not know that those memories happened a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. The brain's recording them again, but this time as if they happened when? Right now. And then you're carrying that stuff around along with the feelings. So here's what you do when you make your next mistake this morning. Number 1, you throw away the list. And then you use 3 wonderful words. You know what the words are? The next time. The next time I will do it this way or that way. And when you say the next time, you're saying 3 things. Number 1, you're saying there is a next time. How many next times do we get? As many as we want. Isn't that exciting? Wow. Number 2, when you say the next time, you're saying, I will never, ever, ever give up. Ever. And the best for last. Number 3, when you say the next time, you're saying, you know what? I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still changing, which means I'm still making mistakes. But just because I fail doesn't mean I'm a failure. Thomas Edison was asked how it felt to fail 999 times looking for the filament of a light bulb. He said, I did not fail 999 times. I simply found 999 ways it didn't work. And my dear friend, that's what we're going to be doing in 2021. Looking for things that don't work to discover things that do. Wow. Now, how can you make this a part of your life? Number 1, ask for this. Just put your name on the chat line along with your email, and I'll send it to you. And you can see this again. Let's go to a final story, and then we'll go from here. I was teaching one day, I was waiting for the light to change, and a kid came out to me in a very, very fancy car. He looked at me, I looked at him, the light changed, he went peeling out in front of me, roaring up the freeway, passing everyone. As I had this, as I watched him passing everyone, I had this epiphany, how many cars are already in front of him? Millions. How many cars are behind him? Millions. So maybe it's not a matter of how fast you get there. Maybe it's a matter of you going in the right direction. But even when we're going in the right direction, sometimes we just run out of gas. Sometimes we get a flat tire. Sometimes we even lose our way. But you know what? You can buy some more gas. You can replace the tire. You can get a map. And what's so wonderful is when you do that, the brain just says, oh, okay. Is it true? Don't even care. All I care about is what you tell me. You say it, I believe it. You lock onto it, you know what I will do? I will do everything I can to make it true in your life. Wow. Thank you so much. If you'd like to talk to me, you can call me or just email me. My number is 707-480-5007. There's so much more, and I'd love to chat with you. Any questions?
All right. Hey, well, first of all, Stephen, thank you for your presentation.
Hey, would you mind giving the phone number again?
Yes, 707-480-5007. And I see that I have 20 people in the chat line, so I'll send you all the information. I have a book that people love, And also for many, many years, I did an all-day seminar in Silicon Valley. And my daughter, who attended it many, many times, finally sat me down 2 years ago. She said, Daddy, you got to get this online. So she audio taped it. So it is now available, an online seminar all day. And I've lowered the price from $297 to $49. And it's the whole thing, and people love it. And so if you're interested in that, I'll send you some information on that also.
Great presentation. Thank you.
And that was fantastic. And the
Thank you.
graphics were they're terrific. I thought
Thank
that was
you.
really useful.
Thank you.
Let's open it up for questions. Bert, looked like Bert had his hand up, and then Bill Buchanan. Oh, you guys will need to unmute yourself when you speak.
Go ahead. I'll be second.
Bert,
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't have my hand up. I'm using an iPad, and that corner over there is where I set it. So anyway, but since you've got me on there anyway, thank you very much, Stephen Campbell. I've seen your stuff a lot, and I really enjoy it, and it's certainly been an inspiration to me. I certainly hope this continues with you, and I think I've changed with it. I try to be pretty optimistic every time, and collect it's not perfect. You have to keep trying. But
No,
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much yourself.
All right, Bill Buchanan, and then Anastasia.
Good morning, Stephen. Thank you very much for ramping up your presentation to include the pandemic. I think this is very timely. This topic is of great interest to me ever since Joel Panzer introduced me to brainhealthregistry.org. Every once in a while, they'll circle back with an email. Hey, Bill, sit down, do the card tests, and do all this sort of thing. So anyway, I'm on board with all of your principles. And, my position is that with the close calls I've had in my life, both in the military and law enforcement, I wake up every day, and I every day is a blessing.
Yes.
Every hour is a gift to me. So that's my frame of mind, just to set it. A couple of notions, though, Stephen, and that is that, I'm in late 70s. I'm in pretty good physical shape. And here's an example of the brain and the body kind of going at it. I'm trying to learn downhill skiing, which I've never done before. I'm a good cross-country skier.
Wow.
I'm here at a place like Heavenly, and I'm into this about 2 seasons, so I'm kind of a beginner. But I think my brain is telling me, or I'm telling my brain, that I'm a low-level black diamond skier. I know I am. My body says, well, you're maybe low-level intermediate, green,
Yeah.
blue, So here's the interesting thing that happens to it, and it synchronizes exactly with what you're saying about the brain and the body. I'll start on a run, and it'll be maybe a little bit higher intermediate run than I'm used to, and I'll say, oh my God, whoa. And when I start thinking that way, I don't complete the turn, and sometimes down I go. But when I'm very positive, aggressive, I'm doing the same slope, the same run, I succeed. So that's an interesting interaction, between the body. My body's capable of it.
Yeah.
And the brain says, oh, whoa. It all changes. Here's another quick notion for you. And it may be out of the realm of our discussion here, but I just thought I'd throw it out because I've experienced it for the 51 years Claire and I have been married. And it started out when I was dating her. I was working at Stanford Research part-time, and she was a full-time employee there. We started dating, and I one day invited her to go out to, I don't know, Stinson Beach or something like that, to have a picnic on the beach. And it was about 3 days away. And on the second day, she called me up from her little unit down there. She said, hey, we're not going, are we? I said, well, how did you know that? My supervisor a day before had told me, Bill, we got a deadline, you can't go. Can't give you the vacation. I never called Claire. She called me up and said, we're not going, are we? Now, that sort of thing is a regular occurrence between Claire and me.
Yeah.
And to the point where in the 70s, I guess it was when it first reported into bureau here in San Francisco. There was a lot of activity down in Stanford about remote viewing, about telepathy, about information without without a hard drive and without broadband. It's just brain to brain.
Yeah.
Here's my point, and I'd like to have you comment on this.
Well,
on a regular basis here at home, especially since I moved my office into my home office.
the only comment I can really share is that I've experienced the same thing with Mary.
Okay, you're familiar.
It's just, you really do. The Bible says you become one, and you really, really do. You think the same way, you feel the. Now that doesn't mean we're the same, because we're as different as night and day, and we're wired differently. Our brains are wired completely different. But as we've known each other and made our mistakes and love and all this sort of stuff, you really get to think the same way. So you anticipate what she's going to think, and it's really nice. So,
is there any study being ongoing about the physical phenomenon of information transfer between two brains? I think that's what's happening.
Well, I was watching a documentary a few days. We should talk. Let's talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Email me. Email me your phone number, and I'll call you.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Anastasia, and then Patricia Fripp.
So I want to tell you all something about Stephen, who I've known for many, many years. And I would be saying this even if you weren't my client. So I want to set that right from the get-go.
I'm going to start crying in this.
Okay, well, so he's too humble of a man. And it drives me nuts as his agent because he doesn't make it easier for people to know how amazing he is. But I personally I've read his book thrice. I've even sent it off when my son was in a special therapeutic program in Utah for troubled teens. Worked with his counselor there and got the book for people and for the students because the teacher was just blown away by what he could do. I mean, imagine if this message could get to the youth. We have so many years that we have to try to change our beliefs and our thinking. If we can get it to young people and get them started sooner, I mean, we just would have a totally different world. But his program, the program, I've done it twice, an all-day program, back when I lived in Petaluma before being up here in Oregon. It was life-altering. I was raised in the humanistic movement. I've been going to seminars since I was 13 years old. His workshop is unbelievable. And I can't believe that he is selling it for like $49. This is like a no-brain, just, yes, everybody should have it and do it, because it's his full day workshop that he just has the whole thing videotaped. And so you can do it on demand as you wish to fit it in. But if you think about this 20 minutes that he took to share with us, imagine if you had 6 hours where you can really delve into it. And that's when stuff really sticks. So I'm just kind of giving a, shout out to the workshop. Do it while he's offering it at this special rate. And if anyone knows of any groups, organizations that we can get them in front of, please let me know, because I want to get this message out to as many people as possible. It really does change lives. I have seen the testimonies. I've had people sharing with me how they were brought to tears, and it just changed everything for them. So I'm just, he's not going to say all that about himself, but I'm going to say he is the real deal, and his program is amazing. And I just can't say enough about how worth your time to listen to what he has to share. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
After that, endorsement, Stephen, you must be feeling just like that pig picture of yours,
Wallow in it. Get all muddy.
Yes. I think that's why I give these, because I have to hear it over and over for myself. So yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Patricia.
Well, let's acknowledge the pitch freak, Mike Milstein, and another of my late Fripp guests, Brian Wagner, joined us. And I promise you, Derek Arden, I'm speaking for Derek, I'm sure will book you as soon as you can communicate with each other. One idea that I use, I have people talk to me all the time. I'm a terrible speaker. When I speak up at meetings, I'm pathetic. And the first lesson I tell them is stop telling that to yourself. You are reinforcing what you don't want. You are an untrained, you're a great speaker. At this point, you're untrained. You cannot expect to be superb at any skill that you haven't rehearsed, trained, etc. The comment I would like you to make on, and yes, this was a fabulous presentation. We've heard you multiple times, and you are like Anne Mahoney. You're always welcome to come back. Let's say 9 months ago, life was frantic. You come back, you know, you're packing to go, and you haven't unpacked the bag you've just come back with. And over the Christmas holiday, I have been cleaning and organizing and tidying. I would like you to comment, what does it do to us, our brain and our performance, when we clean and tidy our environment?
Well, you have to realize that according to the National Science Foundation, you have about 85,000 thoughts per day. Don't ask me who counted them, but you have a lot, okay? And the ability of your brain to organize all that stuff is beyond, I won't go into the physiology of it, but it's beyond what we could ever possibly imagine. However, as you get older, your brain gets slower. And I think you all know that. I'm forgetting things that I never thought I'd forget. But at the same time, I'm saying that's all right. That's all right. So our brain likes to be organized. It likes to have certain, in fact, that's what it does. It's rewiring itself. It's, but let's put that here and put that there and put that there and put that there. We like to be organized. So what you're doing is very, very healthy. My little office here is completely organized, because if it's not, my brain gets all crazy. So it likes to be organized. So that's good. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Does it mean my productivity and results are going to go up?
I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't know. That's not a guarantee. But the more organized you are, the better it is. Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely.
And thank
Anybody
you,
else? Again, call me. I would love to talk to you about this. 707-480-5007. This stuff, I just love this stuff. So, yeah.
Stephen, can you stick around for a few more minutes? We have a few more questions.
I'm sorry.
Oh, can you answer a few more questions?
Of course, I will.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Alan Garber has a question for you. No, you don't? Oh, okay.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
All right. So, you were talking about getting rid of the list toward the end of the presentation, which that makes a lot of sense. But I talk to a lot of new agents in real estate, and I find it, for me anyway, it seems a useful tool to tell people about some of the things that I've done that are really silly, because I've made every mistake in the book.
Everyone. Yeah. That's why you're so good at what you do, Craig.
Thank you. Let me bask in that for just a moment.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. That's why you're so good at it.
So, but the question, it's like you remember things, but I kind of use it in humorous contents. I go, oh, that's like, let me tell you, and then it goes from there. And every real estate person I know has got great stories. And so we don't really get rid of the list, but we seem to have overcome that. And I don't know. I mean, that seems like a good place, a healthy place to be. But what's your opinion on that?
Well, you don't. We didn't get a chance to talk about self-images. You don't have one self-image, you have millions. You have all this, you have a self-image for every single thing that you can do. And those are hardwired into your brain. You can't get rid of them, okay? Unless you're willing to have a lobotomy, which we won't get into. They're really, 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 really hard to change. You have to somehow go in there and disentangle. So that doesn't work. What you would do is you replace them because your self-images are learned. You weren't born with them. You were born with certain natural dispositions. I was born a natural teacher. I've always been a teacher. When I was a kid, I used to put rocks in my backyard pretending I was teaching them. I was a weird kid, okay? But your self-images are learned and you're replacing them. And how you do that? By your self-talk. They're based on your self-talk. You want to change your self-images? They're really hard. You can't, but you can replace them by replacing your self-talk. Now that old stuff will still be there and you can bring it up anytime you want to, but the more you choose to lock on to other things, the more that old stuff goes away in the back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let me illustrate. For the first 42 years of my life, I said to myself, I'm really dumb in math. And guess what? I was. And then I discovered computers, began tinkling around, got my graduate degree, began teaching computer courses. And one day the dean came to my office and said, one of our math professors just quit. So you are our new math professor. I can't do numbers. He said, do you want a job? Learn. There's the book. So I got the book, ran down to the library, picked up all the books, code and brain-based learning. That's how this whole thing started. Began teaching my math courses based on how the brain learns. And students began saying, oh my gosh, you're such a good math teacher. I love the way you teach it. And then the dean said, all the students said, I will only take math if Mr. Campbell is my professor. Here's what I began doing, Craig. I began saying, wait a minute. I'm going to start listening to what these students are saying rather than what I've been telling myself for 42 years.
How you doing?
And what happened was I locked onto that. I taught math more and more, and I ended up writing 2 college textbooks. And what do you think? Math, okay? What's the point? There is still a self-image in my mind of being really dumb in math because I've never had a lobotomy. So it's still there, and I can bring it up anytime I want to, but I choose not to. And every single time I make that choice, my brain rewires itself, and the part that says I'm really great at math becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. I can go back anytime I want to, but I choose not to. Isn't that exciting? I mean, it's all there, and it's so easy to understand. Our self-images are based on our self-talk. You want to change your self-image, you can't change them, replace them with what you're saying, with something else. Oh yeah, I can work that. Wow, that's exciting. And the brain says, oh, okay, is it true? Don't care. Oh, I get excited. Yeah. Exciting stuff. Yes.
Antonio has a question.
Antonio White.
Thank you, everybody here. Thank you for an amazing presentation. Another one. I'm so happy to be able to participate and enjoy. Again, Stephen, thank you so much. Here's the challenge here. The challenge is that we are conditioned and programmed to be humble, self-effacing, especially when we look at our leaders. And, you know, at least when I grew up, John Wayne was a humble guy. The Green Berets are humble folks. You know, our military heroes are humble people. So the idea that I'm great at something or I'm amazing at something seems counterintuitive. Also, the idea of people being perceived as arrogant and full of themselves when they start embracing these things. Okay, and so for me, I am great at a lot of stuff.
Really good question, and that's a really good point.
The trouble though is that I bring it down in a big way because I don't want to be perceived as arrogant or insane.
Well, it's not really arrogant. What's your name? I'm sorry.
Antonio.
Antonio. It's not arrogance. It's Tonio. It's the fact of what you do and what you do. Let's talk about me. If I said to you, I am the best teacher you have ever heard, that would be an absolute lie. But I can say without reservation, I'm a really good teacher. And that's not egotistical, it's just the way things are. I'm a lousy athlete. There's so many other things in my life that I'm just not good at, ask my wife. But in teaching, I'm really fantastic. And I've grabbed onto that. I said, that's what I'm going to learn how to do and get better and better and better. It's not egotism. It's just something that I have. The Lord has given all of us a gift, or 1 or 2 or 3. People say, well, how do I know? What do you love doing without anyone else telling you to do so? If you want to know what your natural ability is, what you love doing, Okay. My wife is an organizer. I am not an organizer. My daughter is an author. I'm an author, but etc. So it's not a matter of being egotistical. It's a matter of saying, I am a really good teacher and I'd be foolish not to use that. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm great, I'm wonderful. I'll tell you, I know myself too well to know here's where I'm not good at. But in teaching, I'm one of the best. And just so happens that I've been blessed with a computer, and now I can do this sitting in my bedroom. And in about 10 minutes, I'm going to run over to a studio and start my radio program. Crazy. Who would have known? Who would have known? And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And that's because of Zoom and the pandemic and the isolation. Wonderful things have happened. And it all starts with how you think up there. You say this is horrible, and also the brain says, yeah, you're right, it is. But we don't have to think that way.
The challenge is the people that I respect so much, some of them are even on this call, mentors of mine, they're all very humble people. And so I associate high skill with humility, and I feel like I keep myself low as a result of that because I don't talk about what I'm doing on a regular or at all. So how do you get out of that?
Make the decision not to. Make the decision. God has given you such an amazing gift and such amazing knowledge. Get out to as many people as you can. Get out to as many people as you can. I mean, you are amazing. I am amazing. We're all amazing. The fact that we're still alive and we're still here, we're part of this group. Wow. In fact, I think I want to join your group. I'm not sure who would I talk to do
welcome.
that? Who do I talk to? Tony? Okay, I'll contact you. Okay.
Great. Hey, by the way, Antonio, since you're on the call and you kind of open that up, you know, I personally like your style. I think I think your whole pitch freak thing is great. And, you know, just so for the record, we think you are awesome. We know you're awesome, dude. So our past president, by the way.
Yes.
And also, I just wanted to say something too. Derek Garden, you know, I think, you know, you and Stephen have a lot in common. I think you guys, it'd be great to have him on your show.
Would you be on my show, Derek?
I'd be delighted to be on anybody's show.
Send me your email, would you please? Put your email in chat. I'll contact you. And because I have got dozens of people that I've interviewed, and you would be perfect. So
that would be great. I talk, am I muted? No, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, I talk in my book about left and right brain, and my book's all about negotiation, but coming up with a collaborative win-win solution needs the right brain.
Yeah.
Now, the editor didn't even want to publish that. I had a negotiation about the whole chapter of mind mapping and brainstorming, etc.
Oh,
but
wow.
Persuade
Well, email me and I'll contact. I have to do my radio program, but I'll contact you this afternoon.
Well, and the last thing I was going to say was Patricia Fripp tells me all the time I've got to be more American and more outgoing rather than a reserved Brit.
No, stay British.
While we've got many people on here that might be interested in being a member, what is the membership fee for the 2021?
Yeah,
It's $100 for general membership.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
That's one time, not one per
One
month.
time fee for the year. Here we'll review it again in April here, but because of COVID here, we've reduced the membership dues to $100 for a general membership.
Oh, wow. Okay. You'll get my money because I want to become a member
Any
of
of
this.
our regular guests who'd like to be an official member and introduce themselves and be a shameless self-promoter, it would be worth $100, Gary McKenzie.
Thank you, Patricia. I was just getting to call that one out myself.
I don't know what's better in the morning, a shot of double espresso or Patricia Fripp saying something.
I hate to do this, but I have a radio program that starts in 5 minutes and I have to run over to, I'm going to have to let you go, but I'm joining your club. I'll see you next week. God bless you. This has been.
Thank you, Stephen.
Don't start
Thank
crying.
you, Stephen.
Don't
Happy
start
New Year,
crying,
Stephen.
Steve. I'm going to
Thank
start
you.
crying. So I'm
Thank
going
you,
to get up
Stephen.
before I start crying.
Thank you
You're
so
the
much.
best.
Love you.
Okay? Love you. Love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Franco,